So, whenever I have an opportunity to speak or offer workshops on trauma recovery, resiliency, or even wellness, I make a point to state that our mind, body, and spirit are interconnected. There is no separation between them. That means no matter the entry point of hurt, pain, injury, sickness, grief, disconnect with God, all parts are impacted. What affects the body impacts the mind and the spirit. What impacts the spirit impacts the mind and the body. Whatever affects the mind impacts the body and the spirit. You following me? With the types of issues you treat, have you noticed a correlation with your patients' physical issues and their mental health issues when they first find you?
Yes, you're speaking my language, Shahidra, because the meaning of 3D wellness is mind, body, spirit. That's behind that. So you cannot treat a person for their body issues without diving into what's going on in the mind and what's going on in the spirit. And on my questionnaire, one of the questionnaires I ask, when you ask a person, have they ever had trauma? They're going to look at you like, no, I haven't had trauma. And so I asked, have you been abused, victim of a crime? And then it'll always say trauma in there as well. But I'll dive deep into that and ask them more about it. And what I find a lot of women, especially, they think the S on their chest is for superwoman, but it's mean stress. So, they just moved to a new city, they just had a baby, they got a new career, they just, all these things that we don't label as trauma because trauma has a negative connotation. So I try to dive into that with the person because it's not necessarily what they're eating, it's what's eating you.
Right.
So you cannot be healthy without a good mindset, and that's at psychoneuroimmunology. So if you look at Carol Leaf's work, she talks about the psychoneuroimmunology where disease starts in the mind. And we also know the Bible says, whatso a man thinketh is he, and we speak through our mouth. So if we constantly say, my diabetes, we're carrying that diabetes with us. So I have a lot of time to break that mindset. It's not yours. That's a symptom of your bad choices or your genetics that we're trying to overcome.
Wow, I love that. I absolutely love that. I believe that we are designed to thrive, and it sounds like we are like-minded in treating the body, the mind, and the spirit, although we come from different industries, if you will. And you're never too old or too young to change or develop life-giving habits. Who do you help, and do you offer support to any specific populations?
My main thing I help is lot thyroid and Hashimoto's simply because of my own daughter's experience. We couldn't find out what was going on with her. And she had a lot of random issues. We couldn't figure out what was going on. She went to the regular doctor, couldn't figure that out. And it wasn't until I took matters into my own hands. So Hashimoto's and autoimmune thyroid disorders is really like my baby because I cracked my oldest daughter's code, figuring out what was wrong with her. So I see a lot of young women come in with panic attacks, anxiety, irritability, inflammation, and they just don't know what it is. And their labs are all normal. And when I go dive deeper and find out now they have antibodies fighting against the self, which is autoimmune. But in your arena, there's usually some type of trauma, whether it's birth trauma, whether it's pre-birth trauma, whether it's generational trauma that they're carrying. Because if you think about it, your body, autoimmune is your body fighting against itself. The negative talk is fighting against yourself.
Wow.
And so we have to stop that and just find out what the root cause of that. So that's really my baby. And then for myself, the other is hormones. When you get to that rightful age of perimenopausal and menopausal, you go to the doctor and they want to give you a SSRI. They think you're crazy.
Wow.
And sometimes just balancing those hormones and really diving deeper and then finding yourself, because most of those women are what? You've raised your kids, you've done all the things, and now you look in the mirror and you don't even know who you are anymore. You've been a wife, a mother, a career person, and when you look at yourself, you're like, I don't even know myself. And then I got these hormones going all over the place. And I always tell my patients they're called hormones because they bring out the horror in you. So those are my two areas: gut. Everything starts in the gut. And that's another thing. And it's just well-being. I just love helping people having that aha moment, and then they feel better. And honestly, I'm just a navigator. I just the navigation system. You have to do the work just like in your arena, and I rely
Yeah,
on your profession a lot. I'm not a therapist, but I will send them to therapy because I can't do it myself. It takes a village to heal.
absolutely. I love what you said about the autoimmune issues that you treat. What I share with people is that the body and the brain weren't meant to sustain at that level of intensity. And so the things that they are taking on, what they're holding in their heart, what's unfinished business, what's unresolved, it comes through the body. And it really is fighting negative thoughts. The body is trying to do the heavy lifting instead of processing. You have such a powerful focus in helping people. Can you talk a little bit about the gut brain connection, since that's one of your areas and where you start when you meet with your patients?
Now I'm going to nerd out on you here.
I love it. Do it.
So the gut is key. So now in science, they're looking at gut as being the second brain. So 75% or to 80, depends on who you talk to, of our neurotransmitters, that's your serotonin, your dopamine, the part that make you feel good, the norepinephrine, your epinephrine, that causes, the anxiety and all of that, is stored in the gut. 75% of immunity is in the gut. We're in the COVID era now. And they're looking at even children with the bacteria, the different types of bacteria that they have. They don't have the same intensity or the morbidity that adults have, simply because our gut microbiota is different, right? So you have 9 pathways from the gut to the brain and 1 pathway from the brain to the gut. So the gut, because of the vagus nerve, you have the enteric nervous system where you have a gut-brain axis, you have a gut-skin axis, a gut-uterine axis. So we can go either way. You can go gut-skin, skin-gut. So a lot of times people say, well, I put something on my skin, but it can actually go and be absorbed in the gut as well. Hence why we use transdermal medications to help with that as well. So the gut is really where I start, because if those tight junctures are the things that hold the cells together for in the small intestines, so you can transition and get your nutrients that you need on a daily basis. So our RDA, all that happens inside the small intestines. So if you have a digestion issue, if you're not pooping, if you're not doing those things, then you're not going to have good neurotransmitter. You're not going to have good immunity, and you're not going to have good gut health. And so gut health equals total body health. So that's why I always start in the gut. And then also your ruminating thoughts can affect your gut. So you can think, okay, I'm eating. I have those patients come in, I'm eating right, I'm doing all the things, but they're like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I ate the cookie that has gluten. Oh my God. So that also affects your gut because that destroys it. I don't know if you remember when we were kids, we had butterflies. That's a great indication that those thoughts can it cause your gut to work harder. So that's the gut. I could go on days about that, but I'll stop there.
Well, you're going to make me go on days. So I have a follow-up question to what you just shared. How do you help people stabilize that area? So if they come in and their emotions are all over the place, maybe they suffer from generalized anxiety, maybe they're dealing with big lifetimes issues, but it's coming through their digestive and their gut health. What is some of the things that you might be able to share with our listeners, things that they may be able to do to stabilize that?
The biggest thing that I have them do from a stress management is even if you can do meditation to calm that down, But what I found, I have symptoms of ADD sometimes. Okay, I won't say I have ADD. I have
So,
symptoms of ADD. So when I first got into this space, I tried to meditate. It wasn't happening. Okay. So then
oh
I
yeah.
start doing research on gratitude. So I have my patients do this quick little exercise, and I have more people come back to me and say, oh my God, that really helped me. So the exercise is 5 minutes in the morning to find three things that you're grateful for and why. And you just sit there in that space. 5 minutes in the evening, three things that you're grateful for and why. And you sit in that space. The act of gratitude alone has multitudes of benefits. But the one that I really bring into is gratitude increases dopamine production in the brain, and it decreases inflammation down to the cellular level. So if you want to start decreasing your inflammation, start exercising gratitude. And then you have to change those three things every 72 hours. So you can't say, I'm grateful for my husband, my kids, and my job, my husband, my kids, and my job. It stretches that, I call it the gratitude muscle, right? Because you want to stretch that.